Because if we think about it for real, like, you know, Def Jam's run, like, from, I want to say, Ja Rule to Hove, like, from 1999 to 2006, right?
Okay.
That's, like, I want to say Def Jam's modern glory age.
Uh-huh.
I feel like we could compare that to...
plug-in companies?
Yeah, some way. So, like, I would compare that to Spectrasonics right now.
You
It's
think,
like on the way that they're just... Think about all the shit that Def Jam gave us in that era.
You think Def Jam is Spectrasonics?
Just from that era of Def Jam is Spectrasonics now.
Okay.
They haven't missed.
I say Waves.
That's not bad.
Waves plugins is Universal Music.
Well, that's so big.
UMG?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yes. You can't.
You can't.
UMG?
No, you know what? I lie.
It
You're
is.
lying.
No.
UMG, I think they're more Warner.
Thank you.
I think Universal
Like
is...
a more Warner
Universal
Interscope.
is Native Instruments.
Yeah.
Because Native Instruments
Yes.
now...
There you go.
Think about all the Little Brothers Native Instruments is
Thank
made with the
you.
plug-in alliance.
Thank you.
So
There you
now
go.
Republic
I'm fine
could be
with that.
Isotope because...
There you
Or
go.
not Republic, I'm sorry. Interscope
no?
could be Isotope because Interscope is under Universal and Native Instruments comes with the Isotope shit now.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean?
I never thought about that.
Think
You're
about
right,
it.
you're right,
Native
you're right,
Instruments could really be the Godfather. Brainworks now could be...
I think that's a good point.
Epic.
I think that's a good point.
I think
Who
y'all
are you jacking?
tripping.
Universal, bro. Native
jacking-
Instruments is the
jacking-
Godfather of the plugins now.
I think Universal would
UMG
be
is-
Waves. So who is Waves? So what is Waves?
Waves is one of the big three for sure, and I think it's either Sony or Warner. And I think I would lean Sony.
I think I'll leave Sony too.
'Cause
I think Waves
in
is
my
Sony.
head-
Because you know why? Because Waves is trying to monopolize.
I like that.
They're trying to beat the other monopolization same way Sony is.
Can I tell you why I think Auto-Tune is Def Jam?
Auto-Tune is not Def Jam.
Can I tell you why I think Auto-Tune is Def Jam?
Because no one else is not using it.
Because no, that and what I'll say is that Def Jam run, as far
It's
as when,
crazy. It
when
keeps going.
Auto-Tune cracked,
It's as if it's supposed to keep. It's as if both are supposed to keep going. That's
I think
interesting.
Auto-Tune had
That's
such. I
interesting.
think Def Jam had such a run, right?
That's interesting.
I'm talking about the run. Rockefeller, Dipset.
cool.
They had such a run. I compared that to when Auto-Tune came onto the scene heavily commercially with T-Pain and how it transitioned into hip-hop and changed the game.
Can I tell you what the difference is though?
What's the difference?
Def Jam has had too many dips for Auto-Tune to be compared to them. Auto-Tune has never dipped since it came out.
Well, that I agree with you on.
So I would say it's
Okay.
So who would you call them then?
Auto-Tune is Jive RCA J Records.
I like that. I like RCA.
No, because RCA came from Jive. Jive and J Records merged for
Merged.
RCA. So I would say from Alicia, like think about RCA from Alicia Keys,
Right,
for
from Chris
Childish,
Brown,
Chris
from
Brown.
T-Pain,
Right.
and then now Bryson, Mulatto, SZA. Like it's never had a falling off moment,
I get that.
and it's always been in the forefront.
Okay. So I'll take that.
Especially
All right.
on the urban side, RCA has always been on the forefront of urban because it always has the
That's
R&B
very
guys.
true.
And now
Childish
they're
Gambino's
dipping
on
into
there.
rap now with they got Lotto and they got a couple. I think ASAP Mob is RCA too.
Okay. So
A$AP
I'll
Mob
give
is
him that.
RCA.
Anyway,
I
let me
believe-
introduce
I
this
believe-
podcast.
Wait.
Good
I feel
afternoon.
like
Oh.
who is Behringer?
I am welcome to the My Audio
Loud record. I'm kidding.
Nerds
I'm kidding.
podcast.
Flip the slide.
The podcast for audio nerds like yourself. Please make sure you rate
Sony
us
Orchard.
on Spotify and Apple. Also, make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. And we just want to thank everyone that comments. That really means a lot to us, as well as when you rate it to the left of me.
You got Elgin. I couldn't think of any.
Good.
NFL
That's why I
player.
did that, just to fumble you
LG.
up.
You got
To the
LG.
right of me,
The Ableton Lord, as they've come to know him, and his nation. Don't look at me like that, bro. You just mad because you don't got a nation of your own.
I'm
It's
so
okay.
sick. First of all, I come from probably the biggest nation
Yeah,
there
that
is.
Niggas got.
If that's
I
so
got
true,
Jason
if that's
Joshua.
so true, if
Yeah,
that
I
is
got
so,
Bob
if that is
Clearwater.
so true, how come the only people representing the Pro Tools nation is old men?
That's not true. At all.
I ain't gonna
Mixed by Ali is
hold
old.
on, because he said something, and that was funny, because I know what he means. I know what he's saying. He's wrong, but I know where he's coming from. That's not true.
OG
There's a lot
So
of young
DAW
people that use Pro Tools.
and but I feel like, I love this quick convo of representation in your DAW. So who's your OG and who's the young guys in your DAWs? Because I know you
Ooh.
got the Timberlands and then you
I've seen
got
both
the,
and just Kenny Beats, yeah.
yeah.
There's a whole
I got
range for
Ninth
Ableton.
Wonder and then we got LG. You ever heard of him?
Ooh, that was
Nah, but if I had to be real, Ninth Wonder and then Ninth Wonder and then Hit Boy.
That was not.
Or
dope.
Ninth Wonder and then Southside. You know what I mean?
Like that? All right, bet.
That wasn't that dope.
Ninth Wonder and then Southside. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Or Hit Boy.
So you want me to go Pro Tools?
Yeah. You got Bob Clearmountain. and
Hey, shout out, go dog.
and then Jason Joshua.
Okay.
It's like
Something funny? What's
no,
going
it's
on
not
there?
funny. It's
Because
just
I
like,
can name the
it's-
records
it's-
from both of them
I can name records
Jason
on my-
produced in
on
Pro
my end
Tools?
too.
that he mixed.
Okay, mixed.
And
That's
then
one thing.
Bob
though.
Clearmountain.
We did N-words in Paris.
Who did that?
Hit Boy.
All right, I'm done with you. Can you give me my one gotta go? You
We did all the good Nas
By
albums
the
in
way.
FL.
all the
By the
good
way.
Nas albums were done in FL. That was funny. That was good. I'll give you that.
All right, so today
I'm not doing this. Don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that.
He
gonna go. There's a plugin. There's a plugin that we've seen recently that's been on
It's
the
a great
market,
plugin, by the way. It's a wonderful plugin.
but it makes no sense. Anyway,
I want to know.
no.
send it to you, Levin.
Stop. We're not doing it. I'm not because I don't want to.
Don't bring it up though.
No. Don't
right.
send it to him. Don't send it to him.
Because I will bring it up.
Don't send it
All
to him.
right, so we got a versus today.
What's the verses?
And this is a versus of inconveniences, right?
Ooh.
I haven't done this since like the first episode, but I'm gonna give you 2 inconveniences. Choose your struggle. Pick a struggle. Either lose all your short key commands
Okay.
or start from scratch with every session. So you gotta finish your beat in the session.
Wait, what? Wait, I'm
Would you
confused
rather
about
lose
that.
your
Me and
control C's,
Bucky.
control V's, all of that?
Yeah.
Or every time you open a session, you you can't reopen sessions, so you gotta either keep it open or start from scratch. Type shit.
I would.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Somebody
my-
asked this. Somebody asked this in our
Oh man.
In
somebody
our
asked this
comments,
in our
Finish the session right.
IG
right then
stories, and I
there.
really
It's
got into an
crazy.
argument with somebody over it. So that's why I was just like,
So every time I open a session, I have to get to the end
You
and
gotta
finish
finish
it.
that
Yeah.
shit right then and there.
Or I lose my quick keys.
or you could like bounce the stems every time you finish the session. You could get around it.
and I see.
But it's like
oh my! But I can't
it's
reopen
inconveniences.
that same session.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Golly.
not gonna lie, this is the easiest one you ever came up with.
I'm about to say probably.
I know. I
bro.
knew I wasn't tripping, but
Probably.
this person was so like, they were so
They
big on like,
They rather surrender the
I can't
hotkeys?
lose the space bar. I
They
can't lose
rather
control.
surrender
V.
the hotkeys.
I would say I am not getting rid of the damn
Reopen.
reopen.
No,
I need to be able to
come
come back to my what you call it.
to recall.
That's right. I need to be able to recall.
I knew I wasn't, but I guess I was manipulated because they was like, bro, you giving up your space bar? You're gonna take 10 years to finish the session.
yeah, I would never do. No.
I'd rather take 10 years than
I'm gonna
go
come
back
for you.
to it tomorrow.
There's really some of y'all out there that's trading your hotkeys for the option to recall your sessions and
I
presets.
would never do that. That's the sickest thing
Y'all
I've
don't
ever
want to
heard.
make money from your music.
Just making sure I wasn't tripping.
No, you're not tripping. I
Because
wouldn't do that.
You're
I don't,
not
there's a
at
lot
all.
of, as a producer, well, all the producers in here, there's a lot of ideas you start and then you're just like, I don't want to finish this right now.
But then
it's
you
golden.
I come back
Yeah.
sometime later and I crack it open and I'm like, oh, this is hard. Let me get back to it.
I don't want to
need-
bounce everything to go back to it. That's
I'm not
a
doing
dub.
that. And sometimes I like to keep my MIDI information and stuff like that there because
it is.
I get new
As it
plugins
is.
and then
you
I
want.
want to change the sounds of them and stuff like that. So that's why
So
I
you
was
got to
like,
export to MIDI.
Oh, that's nasty.
I have that function.
That's
I know,
nasty.
exactly. I never said
He
you
said,
did.
I have that
was
function.
like, you would have
relax.
to.
We have Charlie Poof.
That's nasty.
Who else
That's your
produces?
young guy?
Who else produces in Pro Tools? Does anyone know?
Charlie Puth.
It's literally Devvon Terrell and Charlie
Let's see
Puth.
artists like
There's a lot
famous
of us,
artists and
bro.
producers. Let's go.
Johnny Giuliano
Johnny
produces.
Giuliano. It's FL Studio, right?
Oh. Who?
40 does not produce.
40 does he does produce in Pro Tools.
I feel like he does.
40
he
So
produces
you
in Pro
telling me
Tools.
on that Waves commercial on a Native Instruments commercial for Noah's very
Not for that
40s
specific
keys.
instance, Levens. He doesn't
Did he
produce in Pro
open that
Tools
plugin
there.
into Pro Tools?
I think he produces in Pro Tools.
For real?
I think 40 produces in Pro Tools.
that's respectable.
We don't know. I don't want to.
I'm about to look it up. But
That's
keep going.
respectable.
Can I say something? A lot of people that we've met, and you know what I'm talking about, that we've encountered. What did they produce in?
FL
That were
Studio.
extremely talented musicians. Pharrell produced in Pro Tools?
No, he does not.
He produced in Logic?
Logic.
Okay, never mind. Sorry. He produced in Logic. Okay. See, once again, Logic.
But Chad might be using like Cool Edit or something. I feel like Chad's so weird. He might be using Cool Edit and making crazy shit out of it.
That
or
is
Mixcraft.
wild.
That's a good question. I want to know what Chad
What
produces.
Chad
out of.
produces in?
We'll find out. But was that your one gotta go as far as that's concerned? That was
yeah,
an
it was
easy
a
one for
versus.
me.
It was
probably
like,
I'm
but
gonna
I
stick
just
to
wanted
that.
to make sure. All
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
We can move on.
Okay,
What's
cool.
the question that just riled this whole room up?
So,
Shout out to my classic.
shout out to my classic. The topic that I wanted to bring up today was what era of mixing was better? And when I say era, I'm talking about time period. What time period breeded the best mixes? Do you think it's modern time? Do you think there's a certain era where it still holds up today? Which one or which era do you think breeds or created the best mixes?
I think modern era, only because we've learned from all our mistakes and we've gotten so like exponentially better so quickly. Like 10 years ago, retune speed was all at 3. Now you can't tell whether someone has it on or not.
I can't even see
We're
it. Okay.
performing live with auto-tune and it's so clean.
That's facts. It's
Everything
true.
is so
It's very
clean,
true.
and I'm not saying clean mixes are the better mixes, but I feel like we've gotten so much better now that to compare it to a record like
Something
Graduation or Late Registration, I think if they were attacked today, they would be better,
way better
mixes.
So this is my belief, right? I think that over time, right, we have to look at the mediums that people have listened, the medium that people listen to music on, right? The stuff that people were listening to music on back in the day could not reproduce the frequencies that are capable of being reproduced in our AirPods, in our systems in our car, subs. No. Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
They were not capable of producing those kind of frequencies that we are able to hear now, as far as the common things that people listening to music on, okay? When I listen to music now, I feel like there's a fuller spectrum when it comes to stuff.
For sure.
Especially in what?
Hip-hop?
The number one sonic...
The low end? I'm sorry.
Got you. But the number one thing that I hear a difference in from old music to today is the low end.
Okay.
The way that low end is able to be reproduced, meaning heard on speakers these days, that's where I notice, ooh, this is a newer record, because that low end has a fuller sound to it. I feel like converters have gotten better. A lot of stuff has gotten better at reproducing the low end frequencies.
But can I fight you on that real quick?
Sure.
I also feel like a caveat to that, the fact that it wasn't, it couldn't be reproduced back then. Obviously, low end couldn't be mixed or controlled that well back then.
Right.
So I personally feel like, especially when you hear a lot of these records, a lot of the classic R&B, a lot of the classic pop records from like this 50s, 60s, 70s, I personally just look at it just like they had that track, the bass player on the track, or the lower end instrumentalist on that track coming out, and they just turned it down.
So
Because they realized, this is a lot, and we don't know what to do with this, so let's just turn it down.
Hey, can I say something?
Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. Because guess what? I stand corrected. When I say, oh, we couldn't reproduce that, I think that the style, let's say, for instance, when it hit like the 90s, that's when we had subs and stuff in the 90s. Like we had certain subs and stuff like that in the 90s.
Yep.
But I think that the style in which we were mixing our music,
it was completely different.
Completely different.
Because people weren't, for sure, like you said, what people are looking for in music now is not what were the problem areas and the problem fixers of back then.
we're looking for.
It wasn't.
So what I say is this. I also would say that I think that music, as far as the image, so my biggest thing is this. When it comes to music in the 70s, that's probably like one of my favorite eras. 70s, 60s. It's like one of my favorite eras of just music, the way it sounds, because I feel like it still holds up today. Like when we hear like 60s music and Marvin Gaye, Al Green, I feel like all that music, when it come on today, I'm like, it's still a hit. And that's why you get that argument about analog and about how nostalgic it feels and how pleasing it sounds to the ear. So for me, when I think about eras is concerned, I think that there's a benefit to both sides in the sense of when it comes to the stereo image. I think that's the common thing for me is the image. Because when I hear a newer record, more modern record versus the old one, the first thing I notice is the new records sound bigger. It sounds so much bigger. There's a bigger sound stage. It feels a lot bigger with the new records as opposed to the older stuff feels a little bit smaller, but it still feels really good.
But can I ask something? So do you feel like, so then when we get a lot of these tracks, these classic tracks, remastered and updated for like, these respins of these albums that come out in the present time, to update the sonics on that record for what the DSPs and what the platforms are playing are capable of doing now. Do you think that in these remasters, people are actually going back into the mix and then also changing the masters, or do you think this is really just from the mastering perspective? This is a two-part point. Okay. So I want you to answer the first part.
What
first.
Is it?
Do you think that they're going back into the mix as well as the masters, or do you think this is really just, let's take this audio file and just master it as best as we can?
Let me tell you why I believe it might just be the master. If you go back into a mix, you change anything, you're gonna alter that vibe. So if I'm a purist, if I'm thinking from the perspective of a purist, like, yo, this is a Rolling Stones album, right? Like, this is the Rolling Stones. People have been hearing this song a particular way for 30, 40 years, right? If I go in there and I take that snare and I just move it down a little bit,
It's a tiny bit.
People gonna feel it. People
gonna
gonna
feel it.
It's gonna be different. You're like, this don't hit the same. Because we've gotten remastered albums, hip hop, that I've never seen the remaster, and people go crazy for a remaster. Like, I've never seen people go like, yo, this remaster is fire.
Yeah, no
I've
one says
never
that. No one says
heard
that.
that.
I feel like
No
in
one says
some
that.
instances they definitely do, especially for modern day remasters. And by modern day, I mean like albums that have come out in the 90s. Maybe in the 70s, I don't think they're
Right.
remixing them.
Yeah.
But like for Life After Death, the remaster on that sounds bigger, and I think
You like
it sounds
it?
better. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I've never gotten into it as far as the remastered like albums. I would like to, and now I do want to take note and actually
And
listen.
on top of that, does it matter? Because don't forget that we're but we're catering to average consumers.
In
So
terms
if
of
I
what
go
in-
into, if all that's available to me on Spotify is the remaster, I'm not comparing the two mixes.
You're right. Can I say something? You're absolutely right. What I'm speaking to more is maybe the feeling of the record. Because I'll be honest with you, if I make, like, of course, when I'm mixing an album, right, I have 1,000 versions, right?
Yes.
And one version will make me feel a certain way versus another version.
Right.
Now, to the average person, for instance, if I play it for my girl, I'll play her, like, listen to this one. Which one you like better? And I play it both, she'd be like, I don't know, they're both the same.
They both sound the same.
So what I do to consumers is, hey, which one you feel, what one makes you
Feel better.
feel better
Which
about?
one feels
Which
better?
one you be like, I like that one. I said, don't think about it. Don't go, just which one you go, ooh, that felt better. That's how I do it, because to a trained ear, of course we notice it, but to them, to consumer, they don't notice.
But guess what? No, you go first, Lucas.
Go back because I'm gonna go back to the original.
All right, I would say to that point, why I said it is a two-parter. So you answered it. They don't go back into the mix.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the original sound.
Right.
Regardless of whether what they heard being recorded on
was-
could reproduce the frequencies they thought they wanted to hear or not. It's just it's almost like a linguist.
Okay.
Like when you think about it, it's just someone else years later saying, "Damn, the language that these speakers are speaking is it's a tiny bit different. It's the same mumbo jumbo,
Right.
but it's a tiny bit different. A couple of verbs needs to be updated, a couple of frequencies need to be notched up.
Got you.
That's all they're doing. They're not changing the fundamental of the original song.
So that's why I say, and I got you, Leaves, I'll come back to you. That's why I say I don't, and like I said, if somebody out there knows the process when it comes to those remasters, whether they're going into the mix,
yeah, like please tell us what's happening.
tell me what's happening.
I'm
'cause
interested.
I would love to know. I'm only speculating, but in my head, my
It's the
brain would
master.
say I would just touch the master, because if I touch the mix, I'm going to be altering the balance of the entire song. So I would think you would want to keep the essence of what was the hit record, right? That proved itself.
For sure.
Like, I'm not going into Thriller and turning up Michael Jackson's backgrounds. Like, I'm just not doing that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, this was perfect the way it was. All I want to do is take that 2-track master and enhance.
Just make it nicer.
Maybe give it a little bit more high end. Maybe bring
That
out that
being
lows
said-
a little. You know, I might do subtle things.
That being said, while I do agree with you in the terms of, I'm a huge Michael Jackson stan. So while I do agree with you in the terms of the 70s, I would even go further back and say the 60s and 50s have some fire, incredible
Recordings.
mixing ideas. I'll say like that, concepts and ideas that you can follow if you want to.
Right.
I personally do agree with, shout out the GOAT over here, my classic. I do agree with Mike when he says that, and I also, I echo this thought. I think 90s,
Hip hop.
I think just music in general.
Was-
Because you know what I also have to look at it? I have to look at it from an impact-wise too.
Okay.
And when I look at it, one of the biggest entertainment media influencers in the 90s
Right.
was Disney. And in the 90s, we got the Disney dark Renaissance era, Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Aladdin, stuff like that. And what's the common theme with all those soundtracks?
What?
There was an R&B sound.
Oh, I get you. It was smooth. It
It
was,
was
always
very smooth. It's very
sun, the
synchy, and you knew what you was gonna get. You knew what you was gonna get, songwriting and even the mixing wise. Disney has a mixed sound. Disney has a mixed sound, bro.
That's
they
true.
really do.
I feel
and it's
like-
freaking fire. I love it.
I feel
That's
like
my favorite. That's
we're
my answer.
vastly underrating how quickly the advancements in audio engineering have
For sure.
have
Leaped.
gotten better,
Have leaped.
and how much quicker it has been than the listening mediums.
For sure.
Because
that's a great point. That's a great point.
Okay.
That's fire.
It's to the point where mixing today is so great that it doesn't take much to get
a great
acceptable mix in the AirPods.
Can I say why can I take it a little even a step further with you? When we produce in our synthesizers, those sounds
are being mixed within the synthesizer.
Are ready to go. Let's be honest, right? For the most part.
Reverbs and Serum.
It got
facts.
Right. They sound full.
Crazy.
You literally, what a lot of producers are doing, what we're doing is maybe we're rolling off the low end.
Yeah.
You understand?
That's it.
Real talk.
A pro cue.
And the only other thing I'm probably doing is maybe taking a little bit out of that 800 hertz range, make a little bit of room for the vocal, and then maybe I'm
We're
adding.
just moving things out the way of other instruments.
Basically, I'm not really having to compress. I don't really compress like a synth.
You don't like outside of your drums. You find yourself compressing an instrument? Really? I don't.
Unless it's a raw guitar. Unless I got a raw guitar that's coming in or something.
But you also got to remember, you're busting that out to an instrument bus, aren't you?
Yeah, I have an instrument
I'm
bus.
gonna compress my bus.
Me
And
too.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't compress the individual tracks, but I'm just saying like think about that. You don't, because especially those instruments are supposed to stay dynamic. It's supposed to be the tells of this is going this part of the second verse is going off into space and shit like that. You know. So you wouldn't really compress and level out and like
if
I have to
if a 19-year-old kid can sit in FL Studio and create a mix that's comparable to the top records in the world right now,
which is very possible.
Then mixing has undeniably gotten better.
For damn sure.
Can I tell you? Can I tell you why mixing has gotten amazingly better? The technology and advancement of plugins.
For sure.
Because guess what? If I was to tell you how pitch correction was done years ago,
back in the day,
you would be like, "Oh, you had to have a skill set in order to do pitch correction." Where you would have to literally think about what pitch correction is. It's changing the timing of a note. So I would have to literally go in to, like let's say Celine Dion, even though it's even further than that. Let's say Celine Dion. I love Celine Dion. That was funny last week. That's why
Celine Dion on this podcast.
When I look at a Celine Dion vocal, I look at her vocal, right? And what I would have to do is, if I say, "Oh, she's a little sharp," I literally have to take that moment and slow it down in order to change the pitch to come down a little.
There's math involved, folks.
It is. It's math. So now when you say plug-in, auto, bang.
Auto. I'm about to say auto. That's all you have to say.
The barrier for entry into being able to do certain things is different.
It's gone.
When you open up Ozone, Isotope Ozone,
you have a whole entire plugin that mixes your shit.
That's why I'm like, is this even a question? I can open up a plugin, put in my favorite song, put in my mixed record, and say, make these shit sound the same.
That's true, which is insane. But let me say this. With the advancement of these plugins being able to give us better mixes to the even the most of casual people, it's pushing our mixing world forward in a sense of do better.
Yeah.
How can I take these tools now and go even beyond that? And
but
that's
then,
because there's songs we hear today that we're like,
but that's what I'm saying, right? So the problem for me, where the problem resides in, as a lot of what the problem with the modern day like era comes to, it becomes there's no standard.
Okay. In what regard?
Back in the 90s, or let me say it like this: in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Okay.
You was SSL. You was either SSL or you was Neve.
True. EMI too. But go ahead.
Like
I'm nerding out. I'm nerding out.
I feel you. Like before
SSL and
EMI
Neve.
really made that huge comeback.
It was SSL and Neve. For sure.
We don't have that now. Down to when we went to NAMM. And Ali had the engineers panel, and they were asking, "Hey,
shout out Mixed by Ali,
Futures engineer. I'm so sorry, I can't remember the other engineers that was there outside of Kendrick's engineer and Futures engineer.
It was a bunch.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
The guy that did all the Afro, he mixed WizKid's.
WizKid's
I'm so sorry.
Engineer. Thank you.
I'll put him.
Super sorry, but
Dre,
and WizKid and Futures were the ones that
Urko
that did majority of their stuff in the box, and Urko in the box, while Urko and Kendrick's engineer, if I'm not mistaken, were doing things more so out of the box.
Yeah. You know. So Urko, the fellow, and I'm so sorry I forgot his name, but I know he mixed a lot of the WizKid stuff.
Yes,
Afrobeat
that's
stuff.
what I'm talking about. Yes.
He said he mixes straight up in the box.
Him and Futures
and that
engineer.
blew everyone's mind because he was
crazy.
Like, he was like, I mixed all that stuff in the box, and he was like, what?
Whoa,
like just
really?
straight plugins, no outboard gear. He was like, nope, all in the box, and I was like, wow. And it made me look and go, wow. I think the world
the sound
these
has
plugins
changed.
are getting better.
Yeah, changed.
Because I wouldn't have believed that.
I feel like we're overthinking A lot. That's why I always say I'm not an engineer. I feel like we overthink a lot when it comes to the mixing and mastering aspects because we're forgetting who we're doing this for. And the consumers, like, we can give the same mix off for the same record. We could give 2 different mixes off for the same record, and I'm sure it's not going to not gonna affect the reaction to, you know what I mean?
So this is where I'll debate you on that, right? Because I know deep down, although the consumer may not be able to pinpoint, oh, that sounds bad, or oh, this one is better than the other. There's a certain when you get a mix correct. This goes back to the point where I said I mixed an Afrobeat song one time for some kids, and they were like, "Hey, that's not how you mix Afrobeats." And I was like, "Bro, the kick is hitting. This is that. This and that." I think we're not paying attention to how people feel
about the record
when they hear a record where they go, yo, this is garbage, take this off.
Yeah.
Where opposed to maybe if I had Jason Joshua mix it right where the Sonics were hitting, you'd be like, yo, this is hard. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand, you're totally right. I think there's a double-edged sword when you say, yo, it's going to this consumer.
For sure.
But there's a feeling, like remember when I sent you a mix even for Osei record, shout out Osei. I sent you the first mix, and you were like, yo, the bass, blah, blah. Then that second one, you was like, oh, this one feels a lot better.
In no way am I saying, like, mixing doesn't matter. Duh.
Right.
It does.
No.
And mixing right matters. I'm just saying, I feel like I feel like there's a way to mix it right and not really depend.
Have to use the outboard.
Have to use so much.
I don't think you're wrong.
And them saying that basically confirms it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't think you're wrong. Now here's the other side of it. Right. Do I still prefer my outboard gear?
Of course.
Absolutely, I do.
I was gonna say because
when you spend $8,000 on something, of course I'm.
You damn right.
You damn right. I spent $3,000 on that Summit amp.
It's to a point that you make with me and Levens a lot. When it comes to the single releases of a track versus the album releases of a track.
It's different.
And ever since this man has said that to me, I'm not gonna lie to you, like 9 times out of 10, I cannot stand. And I've really wanted to defeat this stereotype, and I feel like us as music creators should work harder to defeat the stereotype. There's no way an album cut of the same single should sound less appetizing than the actual single.
Hey.
I don't know who's behind that and who's doing that.
Hey.
Y'all gotta stop it. I want the album version to sound better than the single.
Can I tell you why?
What's going on?
Can I tell you why?
Because you heard it before? That's
This is great. You landed on such a good topic. Let me tell you why I usually never like the album cut of the single of the hit record.
Yeah.
Because when the mastering engineer mastered that hit single, he mastered it for what it was right there.
Regardless of other things.
Regardless of other things. He mastered it. It went out, boom. This is the one that people are used to, the way the drums are hitting, the way the dynamics flow. Now, it's album time. This is a hit record. I got to put this hit record, Rihanna umbrella, into the album. Guess what? I have to make it fit sonically within the sonics of that album. So, what do I have to do? Maybe I have to scale back on that kick a little bit. Maybe I got to bring up the highs a little bit. I got to kind of change that dynamic. So, going back to what you were saying as far as, at the end of the day, I'm getting the song and I'm not really going to notice. We notice.
You do.
And we feel it as a consumer. We be like, damn, I don't really think about it. When you always go to the single on the album, we kind of skip over it.
I was about to say, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's exactly that in and of itself is the reason in the whole entire totality reason in and of itself why DSPs continue to save the single version of a track and still give you the album version of a track.
That's true.
That's the only reason. Because they know you do not. There's a good possibility that when you hear this versus what we had on here a couple weeks ago, you're not going to want to listen to this.
I can tell you what I do personally. What I personally do is if I'm making an album, I'm about to drop singles, I literally master the entire album.
Buy the singles.
And then I pull the single out of that master and I use that so that it's cohesive across all, next time when it does come out with the album, it's the same exact master. That's what I like to do a lot of times. You was going to say something?
Yeah, before we wrap up, let's just skim through then.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so many different meanings of a good mix and a good master.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite not masters, but mixed records or mixed albums from any genre?
Favorite mixed album?
I can tell you, I think one of my favorite mixed album mixes of all time, maybe.
Say it.
And it's Ninth Who Told Me.
Say it.
The Chronic by Dr. Dre.
Well, that's a heralded mixed album. That's a very
very incredible mixed album.
Because it still holds up, it still hits.
It made hip hop go cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same time, it's 92, it's Wu-Tang. It's like on the East Coast, it was dirty. It was grungy.
It was grungy.
Low bit. You know what I mean?
Lo-fi.
It was lo-fi. Literally lo-fi.
Yep.
Sure.
They made it clean.
Yeah.
And then it made its way back, and we got the shiny suit era. We got the bad boy who made
Super
the East Coast clean.
That's so true. You know, that is a wonderful way to kind of explain like how music has changed and progressed over the years, because you're absolutely right. And I had the blessing of growing up in that time. I know a few of us did in this room too. Mike, I know grew up in that time where the music, when I listened to it, like the Rakim and stuff, that stuff was dirtier. Like it was so much grungier and it was messy.
Grungier.
It was like the vocal was the brightest thing in the mix, but everything else was like distorted and grungy.
You were lucky to grow up, and the best example I could give for this, from my era, and hear me out, video games.
What do you mean?
We saw the graphics of video games slowly get better to the point where it can't get better.
It can't get better.
Same with audio. Audio literally slowly got cleaner and cleaner.
Until
it can't get cleaner
to the point
anymore.
where we can't really make it cleaner anymore.
We
just talked about the waves.
But see,
so let me say this about cleaner.
Okay.
When we transferred into the digital space, that was the complaint, that it was too clean.
It was too clean.
With CDs,
But
it was too clean. That was throwing everybody off.
Yeah.
But we're okay with it now.
It's a good thing.
Same
It's
with
a good
games.
thing.
Same with games.
I'm about to say it's like leaving
games to the point where we can't get too realistic games. Like if the game looks too realistic, that's a scientific thing. Like it turns people off if the game looks too human. Or pictures. Pictures can't like. The quality of a picture can't
get any better than what it is.
The phone, we don't upgrade anymore. Why? Because the shit can't get that much better. Innovation, I think it still can get better. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it was so exponential. It's like, think about it as a chart.
It's a huge jump.
It's to the point where
we're starting to plateau.
We were like this,
we are.
but now it's more.
No, we're plateauing.
I don't think so.
We're not plateauing.
You know why?
I doubt it.
Because
everything is always going. Technology is always going to advance.
For sure. But the same thing, like how we said about the games for me, and with audio being too clean, guess what that means now is back at the forefront again.
What?
People want more creativity.
Absolutely.
Video games? What do video games only focus on now? Oh, how many friends can they play with online?
Yeah.
That's literally
it's monetary.
Everything that the developers focus on.
I get you.
Think about the games, literally even as far as 2012.
Okay.
Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies.
Creative games.
People were really just like, there's like, what have we not covered versus what can we make better?
Same with the iPhone. It looked like he struggled to tell what's new.
See, but here's the thing.
Camera got better, guys.
Thank you.
Again.
He's
Hold
talking.
on, though.
He's talking.
Here's my thing. What I think people, I'm not saying no one's realizing, but why I say, oh no, we're going to take this to the next level.
Yes.
Because you and I both know about the spatial audio space. This one is here. We all know they're forcing it on us.
Yes.
You know it. It's here to stay, and it's going to happen.
It's not leaving, for sure.
Cars are starting to have the spatial audio stuff invert into the car. Like, this is slowly going to become a thing. And I can tell Dolby is it is going to happen. You know how sometimes we'll get like a fad, like, oh, they're trying this? No. This is going to happen.
And let me tell you something.
VR.
And let me tell you
Last
something.
point. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Video game wise is what I'm trying to say. I think the next step is virtual reality.
Like deep dives and stuff like that.
Right,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's time to immerse us in a world now, as opposed to just looking at a screen. This is like, it's like 2D versus 3D. When I'm in VR, bro, this is a full experience.
But also too, you got to be careful of that.
Why?
Because I feel like everyone's been looking towards ever since video games got big. Everyone's been looking like, I just can't wait till video games come to a day where like we could just jump in them shits.
VR.
I think people really like overestimate how much they want that, because I'm just like, you know what also still makes a video game great though? That sense of illusion. The fact that you know you're playing something that's not real. I think once deep dive really becomes huge, people are gonna get tired.
I feel like a better way to explain my point, I guess.
Okay, personally,
with the graph it's not a rational growth anymore. It's an exponential growth.
It's what can we do?
So
what
literally,
can we do to get over
it's not a straight line anymore. It started as a straight line,
right?
And we were but now that line is starting to hit closer to the bottom. Why? Because we can't. Think of it like the fucking stocks or Bitcoin or whatever the crypto.
Yeah,
it was rising so quick until it was struggling to rise. Not to say it wasn't getting better or it wasn't rising, but it wasn't as quick as it was before.
Got you. Well, let me say this. Almost 35 years ago, the freaking microwave was invented.
That's also
almost 40 years ago. So I try to say so I say that to say
like
this.
Fast food, like something that McDonald's is not 100 years old.
No.
McDonald's came out 50 years ago.
50 years.
So-
Literally, it's going to be 50.
So what I say is, and I'll wrap on this, is in the next, what looks like a microwave, this may look like a microwave in the next 40 years. Like what the microwave was back then, we're probably going to see this as, dang, that's when the microwave was invented.
Yeah.
40 years ago. So I think about in the next 40, 50 years, what is music going to be? Like, what is going to be the
Everything's
cool
gonna be in
thing?
the at least for me.
Uh-huh.
Everything's gonna be in the box.
And we'll wrap right
It's
there.
already in the box.
Basically,
No,
it's,
but I'm
it's
just saying,
getting
like,
there.
I'm just
Unless
saying,
it's
like,
a
what if you could
Behringer
just pull up,
box.
like, bust open your MacBook?
I
And
tried.
just like, yo,
tried.
how are we recording? You want the Neumann, the
Neumann?
the Neumann, and they have a Neumann mod right on your MacBook.
Well, that exists already. I mean, Slate Digital.
No. I'm saying without having to use a condenser.
Can I say something?
What's up?
I think that exists. Have y'all been hearing about the new technology where they're allowing you to like kind of like how Lander has with the masters?
There's
you can
cloud
use-
mastering on the Neve Portico and stuff like that. And I was like, what the hell is this voodoo?
where I can use
Yeah.
hardware gear from my house.
And it's in London.
And it's in London.
And it's working on your, like, it's such a weird concept to grasp. My brain can't figure it out.
A concept for another day.
Y'all missed
Yeah, I
my
wanna hear
Behringer
about
shot.
that. Let's talk about that
Y'all
another
literally
day.
like stepped on my Behringer shot, so I'll make another one next
Anyway, we're
episode.
done. That was the My Audio Nerds podcast. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Also, let us know in the comments what you would like to see from us next. I wish I said it at the beginning, but this is also a My Audio Nerds shirt. So if you want to get anything from My Audio Nerds, please, myaudionerds.com. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. Please let us know what else you would like to see here. Remember to rate us on Spotify, Apple, the whole nine. We really appreciate it. And until next time, you guys.